show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So let's attack box number 2 in today's unboxing adventure. Again, this company, they really like to properly pack their boxes. So see if we can break into this. They must have used like a full roll of tape for this one. Let's see what we might get in this box. French newspaper, if anybody is interested in reading. We got ourselves some voodoo oil, always good to have for cleaning braids. And yeah, this will be good. So there's a little bit of voodoo oil. And oh yes, some more pinion gears for my fly cars. These are the smaller pinions that fit the inliners, the ones with the long shaft. So these have only 9 teeth, and the other ones have 11 teeth, the ones that are sideways. So this one, perfect. Now I can finish off my fly cars, the 3 cars that are with the funky inline with the shaft version. Look at this. This is again so well packed. What do we have here? See if we can break in. I think I know. Oh, I forgot about these. These are Pokemon cards. No, here is Valvoline Girl for the track. We have, of course, for the Playboy bunnies, we need to have a Playboy bunny. And finally, one Red Bull girl. Awesome. This will be a nice addition. And now for the main contender. For those of you who know, you know. Scaleauto, we like that. We like them Scaleauto cars. Which one could it be? Which one could it be? If not the Scaleauto Pro, that's also good. The Peugeot, oh look at that. The gray Peugeot, I just loves it. Me loves it. Let's see if we can get the plastic off. Bam. And of course, well packed. Tape there. Tape there. And this is one of my favorites. They have a complete chart, all the different spare parts you can buy for it. The Peugeot 9X8, different chassis, body. Sweet. That's a keeper. And now, Sekar. Come on, let me in. That's what he said. Ta-da! Look at that beauty. Absolutely stunning. Got Brembo brakes in there, Brembo brakes in there. You can see the Brembo brake pads. See what the Australian says about this ass. Is there anything else? Guess it's the usual. Oh, extra springs. I guess we'll figure out what those are for. And in order to get the pro cars, you need to have the little tool. For the little screwdriver. Screws in here. Come on. There we go. Oh, I got my little pointer. So what do we have here? Maybe a small brain need to update the guide. Tires look good. Good spin, not much play. Got an angle winder. Green motor pod. Some screws that we can work. Probably going to move one of these two screws to the top position. So take one out and move the other one to there. That's how I like my pods, at least. Body release screw, body release of 2. So that means that we should probably be able to create nice float on this one. Really beautiful. What else do we have here? Nice details on the driver. Nice beast front with the Peugeot brand here. I like the gray car. I don't have any gray cars, so this will be a first. So that was a fun little unboxing. Off with the next part. And please, in the chat, feel free to comment. We'll open up this one and see what's inside after this. So we have now the Peugeot 9X8 unboxed and ready to get started and race with it. There are many different ways of doing it, and I will share with you what I do with them straight out of box. Normally, well, and so did I this time, I start with just sending them on the track straight out of the box without doing anything. And quite often, since the tires are not trued and everything, nothing is set up, I crash. And so did I in this time as well. So the first thing that happened was that I crashed, and these two, the little black things with the yellow here, got loose, and I crashed, and they broke off, and now I had to super glue them back on the car. But that's just normal in this household, and that's why I buy gallons of Bob Smith super glue. It's really good, and it keeps things stuck. So what I normally try to do to get started with is always to true the tires. I have one of these Process, very basic tire truer, nothing fancy, with engines and so forth. This guy has one of these things that you just pop on the track like this. Let me turn on the track, and then you take your car and put it right here, and then you have one of these red things here that stops. I mean, the guide basically comes up against this one, so it can't get any further. And if you're using scale 124, then you just take this red one away and you put your 124 car up against this padded area on this one. And if you're using scale 143s like I do, I take this red part and move it all the way up in the back here, and then I can true my 143 scale cars. And it's very simple. I got my track turned on, take my little hand controller and hit the gas, and then you apply light pressure, then move it back and forth like this, and you do that until you get a nice even surface. Let's see. So you can see there are no blank spots here. It's very, very even. I also learned from Nico, our Yoda, to actually have a piece of glass. So I put it on glass and I look it from the other side, and I drive it back and forth on the glass surface, and then I can see if there are any uneven areas, and which normally they're not, because I threw them quite long. There's a little bit actually there. So there are 3 levels of coarseness. This is I don't know exactly what numbers, if they're grit 80, grit 200, and 4000 and whatever, but this one is rough, this one is less rough, and this is absolutely not rough at all. So I start with this one and I move down until I have a nice trued tire. And what then happens is that quite often you have a very sharp edge, which I still have on this one. And what I do is I take then the body off and I put it on here, and then I use this nail file and just keep it here to create a little bit of a radius on the tire, which really helps out. So that's the truing part. Next thing I do is to make sure I have a good body float. And that works really well for me. I need to have my cars loose as the girls in the harbor of Marseille. It needs to be very loose. I need to have a lot of body float like this. Make sure that it doesn't stick, any of the interior sticks into something in the chassis or the engine. It needs to move freely like this. And the way I achieve that normally is to use screws here that have a little bit of a blank spot, normally 2mm blank spot. That works for me. And then I screw it in, and I have about, if you look at the exhaust pipe, let's see if we can get a good angle here. The exhaust pipe, it moves about 2 millimeters, so maybe 1.5 millimeters to 2 millimeters in the back. And then I do the same thing with the body screw in the front. If you look at the Peugeot logo, it's about 2 millimeters movement there. And if I have 2 millimeters in the front, 2 millimeters in back, I achieve this magnificent body float, which really helps out. I do need to get a new guide, which is slightly longer and deeper to fit the Carrera tracks. I don't have any left of the Scaleauto ones. So that's one thing. And then after that, in the back or underneath, what I do is that I normally take these 2 screws, remove them, and I put one of them here in the middle. So I only have the middle one and then these 2 in the back. But on this Scaleauto, the Pro version, all I have to do is actually turn these about 3/4 of half to 3/4, and then I get enough movement in the motor pod to fit my driving style and my track. So by doing that, I get enough, just a little bit of movement, as you can see here. It's a little bit of movement. That really is all that I need. And then the Pro versions, they have suspension. I'll show you when I open up the car. There's suspension in the car, which actually helps this movement. You can see there's quite a lot of movement in this direction on the motor pod, which means that when with this movement on the motor pod together with the loose body, whenever I take the corners, the car can really lean into the corners and still have good grip and control as I'm driving in. This one still has the magnets in the back by the motor, but even the motor itself, let's see if I can bring out my knife without, the motor does not have that much magnetic, but here in the back I have a lot of magnetic, so I keep these in. It's a lot more fun to drive fast, and that's one why I keep my magnets in. And on the cars that come with a magnet, if I buy a car like the Lamborghini, sideways Lamborghini came without magnets, then I don't install new ones. I drive them without. But the ones that come with magnets, they get to keep them. So let's open this up and take a look at what I do inside. Take the first screw. Let's see if I can open it up. One. And two. Yeah, so I don't know if it's visible, but these are screws that actually, let me move them aside a little bit. Let's see. There's a little bit of blank. This one only has about 1 millimeter, so I'm probably going to replace this one with a little bit more blank in the beginning before the screwy part starts. But actually, it works really fine. I achieved the amount of flow that I need for my car. So let's take a look at the inside. Well, first of all, as you can see, this one has holes over the tires, which I think is pretty darn cool. But it also makes the whole construction fairly fragile. So it is a runner. I have no shelf queens, but this one will probably see a lot of super glue before I'm done with it. Very, very lightweight. I think this is about 18 grams, the chassis. So here we got the inside. What do we need to think about here? Well, let's start from the front. In the front, we need to make sure, first of all, that the guide, the wires from the guide actually go in under and do not touch the front axle. In this case, like with the sideways ones, there are tunnels in the chassis, so it's really easy to get the cables in there, and you have no risk at all that they come up and start grinding against the front axle. And with the front axle, I polish it a little bit, drop it through the holes to make sure that it's straight. And the quality so far with the Scaleauto Pros, the axles have been straight as something really straight. But what one needs to think about is to make sure that you add, if there's not already a grub screw over here on the top and also underneath. I've seen some videos where people are not adding the grub screw underneath, but only the top one, and I find that less good for my driving style. I need to have very, very, very little to none play here. No wobbly front axles for me. I want it to be properly stuck. And then I adjust the top one and the one underneath, which you screw in there and there. Sideways cars, you get a little bag with, I think there's 6 grub screws of 3 different lengths, and you use those to make sure that you screw them in there. And then I set them up on the height where I can roll them just a little bit, but I just barely touch the ground. That works out well for my style, my driving style, and my track. So that's that. And then as we move backwards, I do the same thing with the back axle, polish it just a little bit to make sure there's no impurities or dust and scrap on them. And again, no play back and forth on this one. And then I start applying some medication for it. I use NSR's ultra high temp oil for the back axle. There's a little drop there and a little drop here. And I also actually apply it on the front, since I have metal against metal both up and down with the grub screws. So I put a little bit of oil here and a little bit of oil there. And when I do that, together with the oil and the right setup, I get really good spin on the wheels. And that's how they should be. Sometimes, if this seems to be very non-grippy, the tires, if they are a little bit grippy and you start to feel that in the corners that the front wheels grab hold of the track and you actually deslot, I put nail polish on the front wheels. The next level, instead of nail polish, is actually to put some super glue on a piece of plastic, and then you just roll the tire in the super glue, and then you screw it down after it hardened, and then you have a really blank spot there, a blank tire that there's no grip at all. And in the back, I do also add grease here on the pinion and the crown screw, or the crown gear. And if I have, like in this case, nylon pinion and nylon crown gear, then I use the NSR silicone grease. If I have, like in my fly cars, if I have a metal pinion and a metal crown gear, and some of the slotted cars has that as well, then I use a different grease. Then I use a grease that it's made for steel. So this is just basically, let's see if we can get some sharpness. There's a little bit of really thick grease that I take from a big jar that I use that a lot of this on my Harley Davidson and my Jeep, because they need a lot of grease all the time. And so I just take a little bit, and this lasts forever, a little like this. And then I apply that on the metal gears. So that's that on making sure that these run well. You do have 2 motor mount screws here, and you can see the dark spot in there. You can use that to loosen it up a little bit to make sure that you have a good mesh. And with that, what does that mean then? Well, the car needs to roll really smoothly when you turn the back wheels like this. Should not be any resistance, etc. Should really run smoothly. And you achieve that by moving the motor just a little bit. And when you put a piece of paper in here and move it, the paper should be able to move through the gears here. And for me, I see if I get even closer. I see I have a little bit of, I can move it just a little bit without the pinion moving. So it's maybe a fraction of a millimeter play. Then it's perfect. Then it runs smoothly and silently. I mean, it's, if I put this next to my microphone, you can barely hear it. It's just very silent. And here are the screws that I loosened up to get a little bit of play in the motor pod. And as you can see here in the back, we got suspension. 2 suspensions here. You get a extra pair of springs that are lighter if you want even more flex than this. If nothing else, you can also tighten these ones. If the more you tighten them, the less movement you have. Some people like it very loose, and others like it stiff. Totally depends on your driving style and what track you're riding on. And then if you're still not happy with it, if you feel that the car is a little bit choppy when you're driving, and you still want it very loose, you can dampen the looseness by putting a piece of tape over here. Some people, for me, it doesn't work. But I've seen a lot of people put tape over here. But yeah, I don't know. It's not my thing. I'm not a tape guy. I run without tape. And so that's that on how I tune my Scaleauto cars. I do have a metal block from Sideways where I check that the chassis is completely flat. With the Pro ones, I found it very, very high quality, and they're very even and easy. Not that much work to tune. It just runs. So that's that on tuning the car. I think I've covered everything. It's not too advanced, but just a little bit of love for the car, and it will behave much better. But now we need to look at the other thing that came in the box, which was my dear, let's see, Umbrella Girls. And as you can see, I have my Playboy bunny here with the Playboy car. I have my Red Bull girl, grid girl with the Red Bull car. And this car will be replaced with the Max Verstappen's F1 car when it comes in, I guess, November. But then I also got this Valvoline girl. And that poor girl, she has no car. So I have to fix that. I have no car today with a Valvoline livery on it. So I need to fix that somehow. See if I can find a Valvoline livery car. I think RevoSlot has something, and that should be easy accessible. So that's that on unboxing and tuning the new Peugeot 9X8 from Scaleauto. And again, this is a fantastic car. I mean, really high-end car with just straight out of the box, runs like a dream. And if you give it a little bit of love through the tires a little bit, and play around with the settings on the motor pod, if you want it loose or hard, you figure out what's the best for you, and then you have a fantastic car that you're going to have so much fun with. For me, I need to do hot laps with this one, and compare it with the Cadillac and see how they stand against each other. And I also need to do hot laps with the Sideways Ferrari 296s, the two that I got, and also the Advanced Slots Ferrari 296s, and see how those four cars compare. But more on that in a later video as we move forward. So with that, I wish you all a very, very pleasant days ahead of you, and thank you for watching and popping into my channel. Appreciate that. If you want to subscribe, please do. If you don't. If you like what you have seen, hit the like button. If you have questions, just hit the comments, and I will respond to any questions or other concerns you might have. Thank you so much.